reading this morning is a poem by Ralph Waldo Emerson, Give All to Love. Give all to love, obey thy heart, friends, kindred, days, estate, good fame, plans, credit, and the muse. Nothing refuse. It is a brave master. Let it have scope. Follow it utterly. Hope beyond hope. It was never for the mean. It requireth courage stout, souls above doubt, valor unbending. It will reward. They shall return more than they were and ever ascending.
Give all to love. Obey thy heart. Emerson is his most direct. And I think we often think of motherhood that way. We talk about the mother's heart, giving and caring and growing and nurturing. I mean, that's what we say moms do. And well, we all know sometimes that's not true. And all of those heaps of praise can be a lot, especially on Mother's Day. I mean, this kind of thing happens all the time. For those of us who are intentionally child-free, we don't hear the praise for the people who also support and nurture and love and give all their heart. But anyway, Mother's Day can be a delightful holiday. It can be full of good wishes and brunches and handmade cards and sometimes awkward attempts at helping out. Because we know that motherhood, real motherhood in this form, is about not just bearing children, but nurturing them. Good nurturing requires a lifetime of love and care and giving all to love, a kind of presence that too often goes unnoticed. But on this day, we get bombarded with greetings and flowers and prayers for mothers and invitations for mothers to stand up and get recognized and in some sort of patronizing, oh, but you mother in other ways for those of us who aren't moms. And then by the time we get to Father's Day, no one wants to do anything because we just did a Mother's Day thing. Sorry, guys. And that's just in congregations. For weeks prior, there are advertisements telling us to send flowers, restaurants pushing for reservations. On the day of, you can't turn on the TV, the radio, a website, social media without someone imploring you to call your mother. Well, that's really hard. For me, it's hard because my mother died 18 years ago. Hallmark restaurants and florists do a bang-up business on this day. And it's an easy sell after all, everyone's got a mother, right? Or not. And we know that Mother's Day is fraught, deeply fraught. Just in this room, and certainly in our communities, there are people who struggle with this day for many reasons, whether because of loss or infertility or broken relationships or economics, or bad mothering, harmful mothering. Now, this is not to say we should not honor motherhood. It is amazing, and for some among us, having been mothered well or mothered well is a miracle. I'm fortunate. And my mom was pretty good mom. There are things that could have been done better, for sure. You would think, having gotten her first two kids to 13 and 15 years old, by the time I came along, they'd have figured some things out, but no. It's fine. It's fine. But one of the things my mom taught me was to obey your heart, to give. Just like Mama in our story taught James Otis that idea of caring and nurturing, to giving even when you don't have enough yourself, obeying the heart. And our prayer, recognizing that for everyone, they didn't have the kind of experience I had with my mom. And I'm sorry. But all of that sentimental and deep psychological thinking aside, I wonder, how did this even start? Why does it matter that we talk about Mother's Day today? Now, fortunately, the Site History Cooperative has a lot of information, and I'm leaning on their work here for some of the history. So in the years after the Civil War, Anne Reeves Jarvis, a notable peace activist and community organizer, laid the foundation for what would become Mother's Day through her creation of Mother's Day work clubs. These clubs were crucial in fostering reconciliation among divided communities by focusing on shared concerns such as public health and the welfare of children. In the post-war era, Jarvis's initiatives sought to bridge the chasm left by the conflict, advocating for unity and understanding through the common ground of motherhood and community well-being. Now, Julia Ward Howe, a Unitarian who's probably best known for the Battle Hymn of the Republic, had been a nurse during the Civil War and had worked with the widows and orphans on both sides of the conflict. And she joined Jarvis in these Mother's Day clubs. And she and Jarvis realized how much more important the work was as another conflict flared up in 1870, the Franco-Prussian War. In response, Howe used her influence and fame to declare in Boston a proclamation in the name of the Mother's Day working clubs and of all mothers. Now, some of you may have picked up the gray hymnal, and I invite you to turn to 573, and if not, just listen along. It's okay. This is her proclamation. Arise then, women of the day. Arise, all women who have hearts, whether our baptism be of that of water or of tears. Say firmly, we will not have great questions decided by irrelevant agencies. Our husbands shall not come to us reeking with carnage for caresses and applause. Our sons shall not be taken from us to unlearn all that we have been able to teach them of charity, mercy, and patience. We, women of one country, will be too tender of those of another country to allow our sons to be trained to injure theirs. From the bosom of this devastated earth, a voice goes up with our own. It says, disarm, disarm. The sword of murder is not the balance of justice. Blood does not wipe out dishonor, nor violence vindicate possession. As men have often forsaken the plow and the anvil at the summons of war, let women now leave all that may be left of home for a great and earnest day of council. Let them meet first as women to bewail and commemorate the dead. Let them then solemnly take counsel with each other as to the means whereby the great human family can live in peace, each bearing after his own kind of the sacred impress, not of Caesar, but of God. Now, Howe concludes the proclamation with a call to action, which is not in our hymnals. In the name of womanhood and of humanity, I earnestly ask that a general Congress of Women without limit to nationality may be appointed and held at some place deemed most convenient, and at the earliest period consistent with its objects, to promote the alliance of the different nationalities, the amicable settlement of international questions, the great and general interests of peace. I love this statement. And I love her call to action. She's thinking intimately and internationally. What can we do as women? And so this, in conversation with the work that Susan B. Anthony and Elizabeth Stanton are doing around voting rights, and so many were doing around child labor and working conditions, and even the temperance workers like Carrie Nation, women were claiming their power in the name of motherhood. They were claiming their power to nurture, to give of their heart, to seek peace. Now, I don't want to miss the rest of the story of Mother's Day. Following Anne Reeve Jarvis's passing, her daughter Anna embarked on a mission to commemorate her mother's achievements and the invaluable role of mothers in society. Her efforts were rooted in the desire to fulfill her mother's dream of establishing a day dedicated to recognize the sacrifices and contributions. The inaugural Mother's Day celebration on May 10th, 1908, in Grafton, West Virginia, and simultaneously in Philadelphia, was a direct manifestation of Anne Jarvis's dedication. This date was symbolically chosen to align with the anniversary month of Anne Reeve Jarvis's death, serving as a tribute to her life and a broader concept of maternal appreciation. Anna's vision for Mother's Day was one of personal reflection and intimate acknowledgement, emphasizing acts of kindness, handwritten letters, and personal expressions of gratitude. The establishment of Mother's Day on the second Sunday in May following President Woodrow Wilson's proclamation in 1914 marked the achievement of Jarvis's goal to nationally recognize the importance of mothers. This recognition not only honored Anne Reeve Jarvis's legacy, but also acknowledged the universal impact of women on the fabric of society. And immediately it became commercialized. Yay! Jarvis had envisioned the day as an intimate occasion for expressing love and gratitude. The shift toward buying pre-made cards and flowers and gifts, in her view, undermined the holiday's true meaning. Jarvis spent the latter part of her life opposing the commercialization of Mother's Day, and even initiating lawsuits against organizations that used the name Mother's Day for profit. Well, we know how that turned out. And that's why, and one reason why prayers like the one I shared earlier matter. Because we are bombarded with not just the importance of nurturers and women to give of their hearts and speak for peace and justice. We're bombarded with messages that put women and mothers, I should say, on a pedestal. And that's hard. And it matters that we hear what those mothers in the 1870s were calling for, because it is still true today. We still need peace. My phone regularly is blowing up with notifications about this battle or that end of a ceasefire or this conflict or that, and I think of how many people, not just the sons who go to war, but everyone, who are dying because there is no peace. I remember when I started the Hymn by Hymn project, singing through the hymns, and I noticed how many peace songs there were, and I said, right, because the Gray Hymnal came out in 1993, which was during Desert Storm, and the Teal Hymnal came out in 2005 during the Iraq and Afghanistan wars. Of course there was a focus on peace, but our focus has changed. Our focus has not changed. It matters. But they were also calling for things like good working conditions. And holy crap, the anti-union movement, the latest calls for child labor. Well, that work isn't done, apparently. They call for the care of widows and orphans and honestly, our sons. And I think today about our sons who get swept up in toxic masculinity and harm themselves as much or more even than those around us. We've got work to do. They fought for the right to thrive, to be fed and housed and clothed and educated, and yet poverty and hunger still exist. And in this country, education is being dismantled brick by brick. They asked for a lot 150-ish years ago. 55, my math serves. It's a lot of stuff we're still working for and working toward. Because this isn't just what mothers want, it's what we all want. Imagine if everyone understood the ways they can obey their heart and nurture each other and our communities and our planet. And we actually put nurturing as a practice. For all the wars we fight, with guns and with words, with discrimination and with hate, imagine if we instead held out our hands in the name of love. There might be no more wars.